Thank you. Now say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening. We're going to start with citizen input. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the committee tonight? You will have another opportunity toward the end of the meeting. Yes, Mrs. Fleury. Yes, please.
a Class Day Awards on Thursday, as well as a beautiful graduation ceremony last Friday evening. Congratulations to all the Proudy graduates. We wish them all the best in their future endeavors, whether it be college, career, or the military. I did meet with Alicia Fagaski on June 13th, and then again this morning we met with the entire student rep group to meet the new high school principal in a meet and greet event at Proudy. Mrs. York told the students and staff she's very excited to be joining the Proudy family and is looking forward to starting her work on July 1st officially. I'll be meeting with the student reps again this month to develop another survey to determine clubs that students might like to see, as Alicia described. The students will be taking exams this week, so good luck on those. And all district students and teachers, I probably don't have to announce this, but I will, just for closure, will celebrate the last day of school next Monday, June 20th. The innovation team. The teachers selected to serve in the district's innovation team have been meeting, and they'll be hosting those 2 no-cost professional development sessions in July. Each week-long session will provide 30 contact hours and will be focused on smartboard technology, including classroom integration. The first session will be July 18 to 22, and the second session is July 25 to 29. Teachers can attend one or both because they can develop different units in each one. An announcement of this opportunity was in fact distributed to staff today, and the deadline is next Monday to register. I'd like to thank those team members as well on the innovation team: Chrissy Lavin and Megan Pope, Laurie Button and Patty Murphy, Beth Johnson and Pete Bogran, and Melissa Jetty and Keith Servant. We had citizens' input on the opioid crisis. As a follow-up to Chris Herron's May presentation that was held in North Brookfield, I had been conferring with various organizations and agencies since that time. Chief Darren and I, just today, have arranged to meet to establish a plan for addressing a long-term plan and the critical issue that confronts our community. We do expect to host an opening event, a launch event in the fall. We're going to focus our efforts right now at the middle and high school initially, but we're looking at programs like DARE to be able to have a comprehensive program for the whole district. We'll be reaching out to the learning community and the local community for input, and we hope to include the district attorney's office, local ambulance services, for example, the sheriff's office, as well as taxpayers from both communities. In addition, next Monday I'll be attending the opioid town hall event that's being held at City Hall in Worcester. Deputy Director Leary from the National Office of Drug Control Policy, from the Executive Office of the President in Washington, D.C., will moderate a panel discussion. He invites interested parties to attend, and that includes school committee members. Panel members that will be on that particular panel will be Susan Strong, who's the principal of the Recovery High School, Dr. Alan Brown from UMass Medical, Mary Ann Frangolis, the Executive Director of Organization and Recovery, Dr. Jeff Baxter, the Chief Medical Examiner from Spectrum, Ray Ortiz, Recovery Community, Terry Nabulsi from Central Mass Regional Learn to Cope Organization, Dr. Dennis Dimitri, President of the Mass Medical Society, other doctors from UMass Medical, District Attorney Joe Early Jr., and the Worcester Commissioner of Health and Human Services, so it will be a full panel, and I expect that will be a very interesting discussion. And lastly, I'd like to talk about buildings and grounds. The installation of security systems has started. This will include a photo ID card access system for the buildings. That will continue. School due training is 50% complete and is continuing throughout the summer. That's the software that does inventory, technology inventory, and it also is for maintenance of the buildings for work orders, as well as building use. Mr. Karlstad has informed me that a preventative systems maintenance program for HVAC, for the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, has been proposed, and this also includes other related systems. He also, I believe, should be included on the School Building Needs Committee because he has the expertise to advise on the building design and systems. He should also probably serve as the point person in contact for the proposed playground. I know he's already working with the parents group on the revision and has already talked about a revised site plan and design. And then asbestos abatement and roofing contracts are in the final review right now and expected to begin by the last week of June after school gets out for the year. We'll be posting the schedules for each of the buildings as soon as that becomes available and we know more details so that staff know when they can get into buildings and when it will be more difficult. And lastly, I'd like to wish all staff and students and parents a relaxing yet productive summer.
Thank you, Dr. Crowe. I think that I do agree, and I will check to see if the rest of the members agree, that Mr. Carlstead should be on the School Building Needs Committee, and I believe that that would require a vote. As the head of the maintenance department, I think he definitely would be a valuable asset to that committee. So would anyone like to make a motion to have Mr. Carlstead added to the Building Needs Committee?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Messier,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Monette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. I don't believe we would need a vote to have him as the point person, or, no, okay. But I think that is also a good idea, that he work with you on the Wire Village Playground, where he is the person who probably knows that area the best, so. Does anyone else have any comment on any of Dr. Crowe's remarks?
I do.
Okay, Mrs. Messier?
Just a question. Will staff be receiving ALICE training for professional development during the upcoming school year?
We actually, thank you for reminding me, we have 2 administrators who will be attending ALICE training on the 27th and 28th of June. Is that correct? One says yes, one says no. I guess it is. And that will leave us with 3 trainers for the district, so yes, they will, and it will undoubtedly be in the fall,
Okay. And
when
then
people return.
my second question, is the maintenance program something that will be shared with the school committee by the building and grounds coordinator?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you'll get a full report on that when it's available.
All right. Thank you.
Did you have something? No.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if the Building and Grounds Committee, I believe I'm representing, so
Right,
I would think that that would be me to bring back a report.
From the subcommittee.
yeah, the subcommittee. I'm going to talk about that at the end.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else have any comments?
I just have a request. Can people talk right into their mics? Because Wendy and I can hear absolutely nothing
Oh, okay.
that you're saying. Thank you.
Like me to read the report? I didn't.
No, I had it to follow along with you. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the financial report. Mr. Suda has provided us with a list of transfers that are needed to end the fiscal year, I should say. Mr. Suda, would you like to explain these transfers to us?
Sure. So we, as you know, we've been closely monitoring our net school spending number and trying to get as close to it as possible, because last year we did not meet net school spending and we carried a deficit forward. Our fiscal overseer, Mark Abraham, is here tonight, and I'm sure he can attest to what we've been doing. So these transfers are to help us get closer to the net school spending number, and we intend to come back at the July 12th meeting and do a final round of transfers to clean up some of the deficits and some various line items in the budget. So tonight's transfers are really to get us closer to net school spending, to move some of these funds into the accounts where we can actually spend them for supplies and services and things that we need this year. So I'll be glad to read them if you want me to read them, or...
Yeah, they're not that many. I think that would be
Okay.
good.
So we're going to transfer from District Technology Coordinator, $7,250, from Network Technology Contracted Services, $1,000, from Non-Professional Retirees Health Insurance, $30,000, from Wire Village Heating, $19,800, from Knox Trail Student Body Professional Salaries, $3,000, from Knox Trail Heating and Ventilation, $2,200, from East Brookfield Heating, $10,000, East Brookfield Electric, $3,000, Lake Street School Rubbish Removal, $607.15, Special Education Preschool Paraprofessional Subs, $164, Special Education Preschool Aides Salaries, $34.70, High school department heads, $1,500. High school classroom teacher salaries, $20,000. High school officials, high school athletic professional salaries, $10,000. High school officials and doctors, that's for the athletic program, $4,750. From the high school roof replacement account, $45,000. From the high school asbestos remediation account, $37,156. From special administration, special education, medical, therapeutic, professional salaries, $4,000. From special education administrative salaries, $15,000. And from special education, medical, therapeutic, contracted services, $6,000. So we're transferring from those accounts, and we're transferring the following. District computer hardware, $87,000. District maintenance of equipment, $7,500. Funding for the stabilization fund, $59,581. Wire Village clerical salaries, $300. Wire Village teacher supplies and materials, $10,000. Knox Trail clerical salaries, $706.39. Knox Trail teacher supplies and materials, $10,000. Knox Trail extraordinary maintenance contracted services, $25,000. East Brookfield clerical salaries, $328.55. East Brookfield teacher supplies and materials, $10,000. High school clerical salaries, $545.58. High school teacher supplies and materials, $10,000. In the high school heating and ventilation, $5,000. So some of the explanation for this, we had to make we did some transfers back in April, and then when the bids started coming in for the asbestos project, we had to hold back on some of these transfers till we knew what the final prices were going to be. So for instance, we're putting $87,000 back into district hardware maintenance. That's for purchases of 40 iPad Pros, $12,000 for document cameras and Mimios for Knox Trail, and replacement of computers district-wide. So those items were pulled out of the original transfer to wait to see what the bids came in at. We're putting $7,500 to replace some custodial equipment for stripping and waxing of floors. When we did the budget, we were short in what we calculated to contribute to our supplemental reserve fund that's required by the deficit funding legislation. So we're going to transfer $59,581 to meet our obligations for that. We're adding an additional 20 hours of clerical staffing to each of the schools for the period when school gets out to the end of June. And then we're going to, each school will get $10,000 to purchase additional supplies and materials for the upcoming school year. And in Knox Trail, they had an incident over the winter where their paging and intercom system burned up, and so we need to replace that. That's $25,000. And we need to cover some additional unanticipated heating system repairs as a result of the pipe breaks in the wintertime at the high school for $5,000.
Thank you, Mr. Suter. Does anyone have any questions about these recommended transfers? Mrs. Messier?
I'm just curious, what's the difference between an iPad Pro and a regular iPad? Is there a cost difference between the two?
Yes. Simple answer is yes. The iPad Pro, a lot more powerful.
Microphone down.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. iPad Pro, as you see, is about $1,000 a piece.
Okay.
Whereas the iPads, you can get those $400, $500, depending on the memory capacity. The iPad Pros, what we anticipate, one of them was for music.
Okay.
Another one was for graphic design. So they have a lot more capability.
Okay, that makes sense. And then just one question for Mr.
Yep.
Suter, I guess. Is the $59,581, is that all we need to put in the stabilization account for next year?
So next year's budget includes an amount, but it was short.
Okay.
We calculated it based on the wrong budget number, so that's what we need to be in compliance by the end of June of next year, but rather than take it out of next year's budget, we figured it's best to take it out of the surplus we have this year and get it done. So we'll be in compliance.
What is the total amount we have to have in the stabilization account for next year?
The amount we're contributing is approximately $238,000 in next year, and that'll put us up to just shy of $700,000 in the account.
Okay, thank you.
Gary, you said that we're close to the, I don't think this was the question that Heather just asked, but we're close to the minimum spending requirement. How close are we?
So that's in my next report.
Oh, okay.
So if
Okay, I will wait. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, we do need a vote to accept these transfers.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Napton. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Messier. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, this is a vote. Thank you. The next item is the expenditure report. Mr. Suter?
Thank you. So the top page of the expenditure report is kind of a snapshot of, we've been tracking net school spending to make sure we get as close to that number as we need to during this fiscal year. So this top page, really down on the bottom, the recap, shows that our anticipated net school spending number for the current year is $21,159,063. Our calculated required net school spending is $21,214,668. So as it stands right now, if we spend everything we say we're going to spend, we'll be $55,000 short, which is well within the 5% limit, so we won't get penalized. In last fiscal year, we were $500,000 short, so we want to make sure we stay on top of that and get as close as we can. So that's where
As long as you're within 5%, there's no
there's no penalty.
penalty.
Any shortfall will get rolled into next year's requirement again, but it'll be a much smaller number.
Thank you.
So the second page of that report is just, it's the rest of the budget items that don't qualify for net school spending. So you'll see the contribution to the stabilization fund, transportation doesn't count, debt payment and debt service doesn't count, some capital projects that are over $150,000, that does not count, and special ed transportation. So of the entire budget, $21,309,000 is net school spending related, and $2.7 million is not, to give us our total budget. So basically, without going through all these line items, we're in pretty good shape. Our overall surplus after this report is $168,000. So we'll take some of that money, transfer it back to cover some of the deficit lines in the budget at July 12th, and that should get us down as close to net school spending as we're going to get at this point in the year.
Does anyone have any questions on the expenditure report?
I just have one, I guess.
Mrs. Messier?
So the 55,000, we don't have to spend it, we're okay with just leaving?
Right.
So can we roll that over into E&D, or?
No, so the 55,000, we need to spend an additional $55,000 to meet our net school spending requirements. If we don't spend that 55,000, the state will take that number and add it to next year's minimum spending requirements, and we'll have to make it up next year. But we'll be okay, because next year's budget is already over net school spending, so we will have already taken care of that. So it's a bit confusing, but so it doesn't get closed out to E&D. It's
Should we maybe put that towards security or some of the capital projects that we have, or, I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Some of the capital, because some of the capital doesn't count towards net school spending, but we may be able to do some other things that do count towards net school spending before we get to the end.
Gary, I don't know if this is the proper time to ask this or at another topic, but last meeting, Chris Cheney was here asking about the track at Knox Trail. Is that something that's been on the radar, and is that?
Rowdy.
At the high school.
Oh, that was at the high school, oh, I misunderstood, okay. Is that something that's been on your radar, and is that something that is going to be included in capital projects?
It hasn't, I mean, that isn't anything that we've discussed, but I think the Building Needs Committee will take a look at, sports athletic fields in addition to buildings, so we're trying to set up another meeting for that committee, so hopefully they'll include that in their charge.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions on the expenditure report? Okay, I don't think we need a vote on that. Okay, the next item are subcommittee reports. Mr. St. Peter is the chair of both of the subcommittees that we'll be hearing about tonight. So, Mr. St. Peter, would you like to start off with the negotiation subcommittee? Do you have an update on that?
Well, we basically all just met, and we formed our committee. I was voted in as the chair, and right now we're just reaching out to everybody and trying to move negotiations forward at the moment. So there's not really much to report back on that to the full board until after those meetings are attended.
Okay. The next one is the policy subcommittee, which Mr. St. Peter also is chairing, and we have met a couple times. I have attended those meetings, and we do have some recommended changes on some policies tonight. So, Mr. St. Peter, if you'd like to explain those, we will have to vote on them each individually. They will be, some of them are just revisions, so will not require a second vote. And there's one, is it just one that will need? I believe just one will be a first reading and will require a second vote. But Mr. St. Peter, if you want to explain them to us?
Sure. First one we have is actually going to be about the student activity account policy with Mark Abrams and Mr. Suter. So
That's right. Mr. Abrams is here tonight, and he's going to be giving a presentation, I believe. So is this the one that we...
Yes.
Okay,
bring him up and,
We need to move.
Okay, now?
yes, please.
okay. So I believe we're going to sit and watch this presentation ourselves. So, Mr. Abrams, are you ready for us?
So this is Mark Abrahams. He's the president of the Abrahams Group. He's a CPA. He's our fiscal overseer. He's been working extremely close with me, keeping a watchful eye on what I do. But I'm going to, we should go the other side so we can see it.
He's going to put it.
Okay.
And I got to get it.
That works. Good evening. This is awkward. So pardon my back. I would like to present briefly where we are with student activities. There are several documents. One is the revised Student Activity Fund policy that the committee has mentioned relative to its reading. This is a substantial revision to the existing policy. Which you enacted a few years ago. This policy is about 2 pages in length. It has some forms that are attached to it, but the bulk of the policy is 2 pages. This was enacted, well, let me go back in time. In 1996, the legislature passed the first Student Activity Act. It's the Chapter 66 of the Acts of 1996. Following that, the next year, MASBO, the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials, developed guidelines which have been used by districts over the last 20, 30 years or so since that was published. But recently, October of 2014, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education published these guidelines. And as you can see, it's 25 pages of policy, state law requirements, and/or procedures, plus some appendices. So when you look at the size of this and you compare it to your existing policy, it's quite verbose compared to the existing policy. These are called agreed-upon procedures. They're also called audit guidelines. And what it is, in essence, it is an audit. But technically, from an audit point of view, there is no financial statement for student activities by which an auditor would audit. Therefore, you come to agreed-upon procedures, which are within this document, where the auditor goes in and performs the procedures and reviews your administration, your stewardship, general operating procedures, revenue receipts and deposits, purchasing and disbursements, class accounts, inactive accounts, deficit accounts, and your policy regarding student activity travel. The other document you have is the report on student activities. This is technically the agreed-upon procedure letter that I performed, and basically the report picks part of the DESE policies and embeds it in here, and then discusses several findings throughout here. There are 35 findings around these areas. But keep in mind that this policy and the agreed-upon procedures were developed and issued in October of 2014. We applied these to the fiscal 15 student activity transactions. So these requirements came after your adoption of your policy, that two-page document. So you would think there are findings here that your policy wouldn't address because your policy preceded these guidelines. So in essence, there are 5 findings in the administrative area. That deals with, do you have a policy? Does the school committee review annually and affirm annually the student activity accounts? There are 5 findings under the stewardship. That deals with the adoption of the statute, acceptance of the statute, reaffirming the statute. There are 3 findings relative to general operating procedures. Such things are like, are there cash reconciliation of the bank accounts? Are there reports that are issued? Are there standardized forms, and are those forms consistently used? There are 8 findings relative to cash receipts, revenue, and deposits, dealing with turnovers, the timing of turnovers. Do the schools get to the principals the turnovers within 24 hours? Do the schools get to the business office the cash within 7 days? There are 7 findings relative to purchasing and disbursements, dealing with documentation, dealing with the reimbursement of the principal's checking accounts. There are 6 findings relative to inactive accounts. Accounts that are 3 years with no activity are deemed to be inactive, and then the school committee should decide the disposition of those funds, but there's no policy that deals with that. There are several accounts that have deficits, so the policy needs to have written guidance as to what to do with deficits, but we can't deal with that until the policy is enacted. And finally, there's one finding relative to travel, the student activity travel policy. So in all, there's 35 findings here, and based on that, we then developed the revised policy document, which is why we're here today. I believe this is the second read. So this document follows the guidelines. Remember those 7 areas: administration, stewardship, general operating policies, revenue, etc. it has policies in here that are consistent with the DESI guidelines and basically resolve the findings. So I'm hoping that the school committee will update their student activity policy, and keeping in mind that this policy is based on guidelines that came after your existing policy. Number two, once the policy is inactive, then the district will come to the school committee with what we call a corrective action plan. Here are the findings. We now have a policy that can address these findings. So, for example, what are we going to do with inactive accounts? What are we going to do with accounts that have deficits? Now we have a policy, if you approve it, to address those issues. Number three, based on the new policies, to develop procedures and forms consistent with those policies. Number four, provide training to staff, to the students that are involved with student activities, to the parents that are involved with student activities, to the principals that are involved with student activities, etc. And then lastly, make sure that the policies are enforced consistent with the guidelines. So with that, Madam Chairman, turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abrams.
Do we still need the projector, or so I don't blind you?
I can still
It's not bothering us.
I do. I have.
Thank you very much. One of my concerns tonight is I just realized one of the members does not have a copy of the policy tonight. Do the rest of you have a copy? I know those of us who are on the policy subcommittee had the policy, but some do not.
I have copies.
Okay,
Who needs them?
because I,
Yeah, I need one, it wasn't in the email, so.
Not complainer.
Who else? Anybody else?
yeah, I don't think. How many more do we need?
Thank you.
Mike, you need one?
I have it on electronic.
Yeah?
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions on, from Mr. Abrahams or Mr. Suter? So what we are going to need tonight is this would be our first reading. We haven't voted on it yet. So we do need a first reading, an approval for this first reading. Is there a motion? And we will bring it back to the July meeting for a second vote and adoption. Do I hear a motion to approve for first reading? And that would give you a month to look it over, and if you have any questions, you can bring it back to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Monette,
Second.
second by Mr. St. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, Mr. St. Peter will continue to explain we have 3 more policies. These will only need 1 vote. They are just revisions to present policies. Actually, there are 3 listed here, but I believe we also had one on public participation at school committee meetings.
Yeah, I decided to table that until the next, we were going to discuss.
On that one we did?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we won't vote on that one tonight. So, Mr. St. Peter, would you like to explain those 3 policies?
Sure. First of all, we spent a lot of time going over the policies. As you all know, you don't see them up on the website, and there's a lot to them, and we have basically like 400 policies to review. So we got together as a team, and we decided to look at, we're going to start targeting certain policies each meeting, and then we're going to discuss them and then bring them forward to the full board. So the basic ones we decided to do this time were, the first one was the proposed revision of subcommittees of school committee policy, or BDE. Everyone here have their copies? You have your copies, guys?
Yes.
So basically what we're going to try to do, if you look at the part number 4, it says the superintendent will be an ex officio member of all special subcommittees. We'd like to change that to the superintendent and chair may serve as ex officio members of all special subcommittees. Also on part 6, where it says the chairperson shall serve as an alternate member of all subcommittees, it should read the chairperson may serve as an alternative member of all subcommittees.
I think we should do these one by one. Does anyone have any questions on this first policy? It's just 2 small revisions.
Just a comment, Madam
Yes.
Chair. I think we should put the dates on the policy, just so upcoming committees know when they've been revised, so they know when we've taken a look at them.
Right, I believe that at the second reading, at the bottom, it will say adopted on,
Okay,
so that will be on there on the second vote.
okay, so,
Does anyone else have any comments or concerns? If not, a motion to approve this revision to the subcommittee, the policy on subcommittees of the school committee.
so moved.
A second.
That, Mrs. Messier and Mr. Monette seconded it. Okay, thank you. Is there any more comment? If not, could I hear who's in favor of this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, so the second one was the notification of school committee meetings, or file number BEDA. The wording we're looking to change, if you look down in the second paragraph, it says notification of a change in a regular meeting time or place, and notification of a special meeting will be filed with the town clerk. We want to change that, last part to notification of dates, times, and places of regular meetings be accomplished by periodic publication of the schedule for the ensuing months. Notification of a change in a regular meeting time or place and notification of a special meeting will be posted on the school district website at least 48 hours in advance as required by law. We'd also like to change the first line where it says, as required by law, a minimum of 48 hours advance notice will be given, and we're going to change that to be posted on the school district website. So it's going to read as follows. As required by law, a minimum of 48 hours advance notice will be posted on the school district website for any meeting of the school committee, including all subcommittee meetings. The only exception permitted in this case of emergency, which the law defines as a sudden, generally unexpected occurrence or set of circumstances demanding immediate action. Notification of the dates, times, and places of regular meetings will be accomplished by periodic publication of the schedule for ensuing months. Notification of a change in a regular meeting time or place and notification of a special meeting will be posted on the school district website at least 48 hours in advance as required by law.
Thank you, Mr. St. Peter. Does anyone have any questions on these two? Oh, actually, it's really just a matter of changing it. Because we're a regional school district, we have special permission actually to do our postings totally on the website rather than the town clerk. So this policy is simply addressing that change. Does anyone have any other questions? Or if not, motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Messier,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Monette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. St. Peter?
Yep. The third and final one is of the agenda and exhibit. So it's BDBE, which will be followed up by BEDB. So the BDBE is the agenda format itself. We just wanted to decide to put more input in, so it'll be read as follows. The agenda format will be changed to 1, call to order, citizens input, unit reports, student rep reports, approval of minutes, financial report, unfinished business, added in subcommittee reports, business, added in enrollment reports, personnel reports, citizens input again, and committee comments and future agenda topics, followed by an adjournment.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on this change? This former policy was very outdated. We've added a lot of things to the agenda over the years, and this really simply reflects those changes that have already been happening anyway. Does anyone have any comments or concerns? Hearing none, a motion to approve? So moved. Motion by Mrs. Palchett, seconded by?
Second.
By Mr. Monette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, and the final one we have is BEDB, which is furthering on agenda format. On the top part of it, where it says the superintendent will arrange, we're going to insert where it says the superintendent. It'll be the superintendent, along with the chair, will arrange the order of items. In the bottom part, where it goes all the way to the business at hand on the first paragraph, we're going to add, the chair will have final determination as to topics on the agenda. If you go down, 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph, where it goes, the agenda together with supporting materials, we're going to insert right there that require a school committee vote. So reading that agenda format, it will go as follows now for you. The superintendent, along with the chair, will arrange the order of items on the meeting agendas so that the committee can accomplish its business as expeditiously as possible. The particular order may vary from meeting to meeting in keeping with business at hand. The chair will have final determination as to topics on the agenda. The committee will follow the order of business established by the agenda, except that the chairperson has the prerogative of changing the order of the agenda for the convenience of visitors, individuals appearing before the committee, or to expedite committee business. Items of business may be suggested by any school committee member, staff member, or citizen. Any person who wishes to have a topic scheduled on the agenda should submit the request in writing through the superintendent at least 3 days prior to the meeting. The agenda, together with supporting materials that require a school committee vote, will be distributed to the school committee members 3 days prior to the meeting to permit adequate time to prepare for the meeting. Agendas will be made available upon request. Note, when a committee has a policy on agenda format such as the one above, a customary order of business or a listing business to be accomplished at each meeting, regardless of order, is often included in the manual as the informational document. See BEDBE.
Thank you, Mr. St. Peter. Does anyone have any questions on this change? This actually is a result of a meeting that I had with our legal counsel, and this does meet legal requirements, and it was recommended by him that we make these changes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ms. Dapton, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Messier. All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you. So we hope to be bringing more policies to the committee. We were able to bring, 5 tonight. I don't know if we'll always get that many here, but it's like Mr. St. Peter said, it's a very large document, and there's a lot of work to be done on it. But what we tried to do is look at the ones that we think needed more immediate attention so that we can get them in order. So thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, new business, we have an enrollment report. Does anyone have any questions on the enrollment report? Information. Under unfinished business, we have some more information tonight. We have a new proposal for the Wyatt Village Playground. Mrs. Stanlin and Ms. St. Peter, are you here tonight to talk about this with us? Okay, there you are. Sure.
Just one slight correction, it's not Jamie, it's the PTA, so it's Sarah Morris as well,
Okay, thank you.
as well as our other group we've been working with, so.
Okay, thank you. Are you going to be showing a slide of?
We do not have slides now.
Okay.
We presented everybody with
Okay,
a full report, so.
thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead, Sarah. Okay, so you should have received a copy of a revised proposal. Thank you. Sarah, can you use the mic? All the members of the board should have received a revised proposal based on the fact that the site location for the playground will need to move. There are a few conflicts with the originally proposed space, and that means it can't be built on. So you received a proposal, some information about the playground itself, and you received two options. In your packet, though, because the options are very similar, you'll see you have one option, and then at the end of your Wire Village School option 1, you'll also have information regarding the site excavation, a quote from Site Specifics, which would be the excavation costs for the new proposed site, which is right behind the Wire Village School, in the area where the blacktop is right now. There are a few benefits to the new site we should talk about. One is that it's closer to the building, so it will be easier to supervise, and there was not an option for lighting in the original proposal, which would have been an add-on, and the new site location means that the building lights can be utilized in times when the time zone is different and the lighting is changed. So you'll see you have that quotation for the site excavation, and then also an attachment at the end. And the attachment shows a cost. This would be your option B if the school decided to adopt this plan and also provide the labor and pay for it themselves. The PTA would like to, with the Spencer Playground Committee, would like to propose two options: that the PTA procure the equipment and the labor, and have a community build where volunteers will build this playground under the supervision of the site contractor, Site Specifics. Site Specifics will provide insurance to volunteers to build the playground, and the PTA is also fully insured for volunteers to come and lend their time under the supervision of the principal contractor, Cindy Mack, who actually provided this quotation that you received. I know we're backpedaling a little bit, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about Cindy Mack because she has been working very closely to provide information about this playground and has many references. So you also received references, including area playgrounds that have been built. And then there's another page, there's another page of almost 25 other playgrounds in Massachusetts that have been built by Site Pacific, including Leicester, which is our neighboring town to Spencer. And that was built.
Excuse me, did Leicester use volunteers?
They did. Yes. It was a community build as well, and actually, we learned through Leicester about the process, and so we took it upon ourselves to learn more, and Cindy was kind enough to provide us with a quotation, which is what you see here. It looks like there are three main elevations in the proposed playground. I don't know if you wanted to talk about those a little bit.
Okay. Hi. So So the first thing I'm going to focus on is the 10 spin. This is an ADA compliant equipment. It's kind of like a merry-go-round, but it specializes in special needs children. It can accommodate 10 children, and the seats are kind of sloped so that they can sit in and be buckled. It allows multiple children with special needs to be able to play and have something to do, which is important to us at Wire Village. We have several children that could take use of this. The swings fit 8 children, as well as on the end, there is a swing that is ADA compliant that allows a child that needs extra assistance to be able to play as well. We wanted to make sure that was a focus on everything we put into the playground. On the main surface, you'll find 2 separate slides, as well as several monkey bars. There's multiple pieces. We kind of listed it out in the layout, but all of them meet special needs, as well as they're great for motor skills for the children. We focused on everything in here is for grades K through 4, so any child that goes to the school should be able to use any piece of equipment that's on this playground. I'm not seeing it right in front of me, give me just a moment, but I believe the total number of children that it can accommodate is somewhere around 100. I don't have the number specifically. Where is it? Sorry, lots of pages. Okay, moving on. So we wanted to make sure that it's not just playthings, but it meets several needs. There are physical fitness aspects, there are, pull-up bars, there's several areas, not just for playing, but as they're playing, they're learning different skills. It involves multiple muscles, it just keeps them moving and strengthening everything that they could use. It accommodates 75 children. So with that, in addition to the blacktop area, there's more than enough room for every grade level to be able to use this. The added benefit of the layout we chose, the ground cover area is larger than what is needed for the equipment that is there. One meeting with Linda, had talked about the 2 options, the larger playground as well as a smaller one, and the benefit of the smaller is that with that ground cover area, if there are certain things that the children like playing with or using more, we have the ability to add on later on in future years without having to dig up the ground, excavate more. It's just ordering the equipment, they can come out and install it. So it's an added benefit, as well as leaves more room for the kids to run around and play without bumping into each other and bumping into equipment. So.
Okay, so I don't know if now is a good time to ask questions about the playground layout itself before we move on to specifications, customization, warranty information, or would you like me to give that information?
I think I need clarification myself tonight to exactly what the committee is expected to do tonight. I personally support this 100%, and I'm hoping to get it moving as soon as possible. Do we know, I think at the last meeting we discussed whether or not there was going to be a donation of money that we were going to be responsible, or whether or not, as you said, volunteers would be utilized. I guess I need to know, I don't know, from the superintendent or Mrs. Stanlin, what kind of decisions you need from the committee tonight.
Okay, so when we started this in August, we've been working on this for a while. The district was kind of financially strapped, and paying for a playground didn't look like it was ever going to be a possibility. If it was going to happen, it was going to have to be fundraised for. So we started planning, how can we make this happen? That's where the community build idea came from, because Lester Elementary just completed it. I actually personally went out and helped them shovel the mulch around the surfacing. So we put this together with meeting with Cindy and came with several options of fundraisers we could do to raise the funds to be able to donate in a couple years. It could take us 2 to 3 years to raise the funds to then donate this playground to Wire Village. We would purchase the equipment, provide the manpower, come out and build it, and then it would become the school district's responsibility. In April, we were basically given the idea from Kevin Hayes that there was extra money in the budget, and it was a possibility the school district might be able to purchase it themselves. So with that information in mind. We then went back with Cindy Mack to come up with the second quote of how would the school district be able to pay for it, the full cost, because if the school district is paying for it, it can't be a community build. We have to basically hand it over to you. So those are our two options that we're presenting to you, is that if you want the PTA to take this on, we need permission to start holding fundraisers to be able to raise money for Wire Village's playground. If the school district feels that they could possibly pay for this, then we're presenting you with the information and saying, where do we go from here? That's what we want. We want information on how you want us to go from here.
So I guess my obvious next question is to Mr. Steve.
Really?
Is there money available?
So, you saw from my financial report tonight that right now, there's $168,000 available in the budget. The problem we would have is that in order to spend that money, it has to be encumbered by the end of June. So I don't see a possibility of having plans in place, permits ready to contribute any sort of funding to that in this year's budget. So I don't know how we could make that happen. We would have had to have started this a while ago.
The sad part is that they've been trying to get this going for a long time, and I know these ladies have been working hard on it.
Right.
And you're saying that if you were to go the fundraising route with volunteers, it could be a 2-year process, correct?
2 to 3 years to fundraise. I mean, we're looking at, $40,000. So it's going to take a couple years to raise those kind of funds to be able to do it.
Mrs. Messier?
Could we use the $55,000 left over for available net school spending, or is that?
The 55 is really part of that 168.
Okay.
And spending money on a playground wouldn't count towards net school spending, so it wouldn't help us reach that goal. And then I know of the 168,000 that we have left in the surplus, there still are some things remaining that were in our original thoughts to use for net school spending that we haven't completed. So some of that money may be already spoken for, but I just don't see how we can, even if we could transfer the money, at this point, it wouldn't be till till July, and then it's too late. So I don't know how we can pull that off.
Again, I guess my frustration is in that this has been ongoing, and I'm wondering why this, wasn't discussed more thoroughly earlier.
Well, through the chair, what else, they've come forth with a quote. What else is needed other than the permits?
What would the total cost?
They have everything right here.
We have everything except for the site survey cost. I met with Russ Carlstad, that's how the site was moved, and he brought up the site survey fee. I called multiple places to get him, they're emailing him, I just haven't received the quotes for the site survey, but other than that, we have absolutely every cost.
And what did the total turn out to be?
So the total for a PTA-funded and PTA-built playground that is given as a gift to the school would be $45,219.80. And then if the district were to adopt this and pay the extra for the labor for extra general contractors, commercial contractors to come in and build the playground, it would be $57,527.
Plus the survey.
I'm just,
Plus the survey fee
survey.
for both options.
Right.
About 60 grand.
I'm sort of thinking out loud here, but is there any chance of kind of doing it both ways? Is there any money that could be put towards it with the rest of the cost being done through fundraising?
So my only concern is that the transfers that we presented tonight, that transfer was not in the agenda or on tonight's agenda to deal with. So I don't know if we can even do it, entertain a transfer tonight, and when we reach July, the fiscal year is closed. The July transfers would only be to clean up deficits in line items. So I don't know legally if we can change what was presented to the school committee and add things to the agenda in the transfers.
Yeah, what about if we scheduled a special meeting between now and July 1st? I can't do that.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility, and I'll have to check with the overseer to see if what needs to be in place. We have to actually sign a contract. If the district's doing it, that means we have to bid it. and that takes at least a month. So that's the downside. I would have several questions that I have to either talk to council and the fiscal overseer about, just to make sure we could do it. But that would be a possibility.
Okay, well, I guess, does anyone else have any comment? Dr. Crowe, do you have any comment tonight?
No, Madam Chair, one of the things that, I know that Mr. Karlstad is here, and I know he's been definitely working with the group, and I know that the site was a concern, and I think we've resolved that. I guess my question through the chair to Mr. Suter would be, is it possible to pay for the site survey piece, and then they do the fundraising for the playground itself? Is that possible?
Do we have an estimate on the site survey?
No,
That's what I'm waiting for.
we didn't get it back.
Right.
So if the site survey would be less than $10,000, we don't have to bid it or get quotes. So if it was less than that, we could certainly handle that piece of it,
Okay.
and that shouldn't be an issue.
So I guess my directive would be tonight for you to look, we have to talk to the overseer and to legal counsel.
Well, if we're just going to pay for the site portion of it, then that's much easier to do, and it's much
Okay.
less money, so I can go back into the budget and find some surpluses.
And would this require a special meeting?
We'd have to do a transfer before June 30th.
Okay.
Yep, and, I forgot what I was going to say. Well, anyway, yeah, we'd have to do a transfer before June 30th.
Well,
Can I just,
yes, sure.
through the chair to Mr. Suter, again, we need to get the financial overseer on board first to do the transfer
Right, because he needs to submit it to the Department of Ed prior to our meeting.
from the department.
Oh, so the last thing I had, was that as soon as you know the amount of the site survey and costs, I would need to know that.
Absolutely.
So hopefully before we leave tonight, we can get a meeting set for a special meeting. And, again, this is very important to me. I think it's very important that the children at Wire Village have a playground, especially at the age group they're at. We all know that when that school was built, it wasn't built with that age group in mind, and that has been the concern. But children do need a place to, get some exercise, and probably will even help some behavior problems inside the school. So it's very important to me, and I'm not going to, let this get by. Okay, so we will, I don't know if you're staying for the rest of the meeting, but we will try to get a date set for a special meeting and see what we can do.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
through you to Mr. Suter, we do have a copy of the site work quote here also, aside from the site survey. For $44,650, is that something that we could also ask maybe the district?
How much was that, 4,000?
Yeah, $4,650. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, once we get all the information, we know, that's the site survey?
no, that's the actual site work.
Site work?
The digging.
Yep. So, yeah, like I said, if we can keep, each vendor's cost down under 10,000,
Yeah, I mean,
the total, we could do that.
that's a separate vendor, and we have the quote, our packet tonight. Maybe that's something we can, being under 10 grand, we can also take care of that.
Right.
Okay, well, at the end of the meeting, when we get to the future agenda topics, hopefully we can come up with a mutually agreeable time for a special meeting, and Mr. Suter will have some answers for us, and you can get that quote that we will need, and we'll make sure that you know when that meeting is going to be scheduled for, if you don't stay tonight.
I just want to thank you for considering, and I just wanted to also say that we were originally intending to donate this as a gift, and so to be able to move forward with the fundraising, to install the playground is great, and I thank you for that, and I just wanted to let you know we'll give you that information about the site as soon as we have it. There just needs to be a very clear place where we hand off the work so that we're not having the school and the PTA working at the same time, in the same, too many hands in the same pot, I guess.
Right.
So there will have to be a definite handoff point, and I do believe that we can get you that quote this week, and you do already have in your packet the quote for the excavation of the site.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Messer, Mr. Ethia?
One other thing, while we still have the PTA group up here, next Tuesday maybe for a special meeting? I mean,
Would be June
that,
21st, I believe.
June 21st, would that give you enough time to get that quote, do you think?
Absolutely.
Is June 21st a date that would be?
Information to the
Through the chair, I am on vacation next week, and I believe Mr. Suter is as well.
Yeah, I'm away, but I could certainly have, if I get the quotes, or if you get the quotes to Russ Karlstad, we can put the information together for a committee meeting.
If we get the information before the end of the week.
Okay. Are other members available on June 21st? Angela, Wendy?
Same time, like same normal time, 6 or 7?
6 or 7, whatever works best for everyone.
Easier would be better. Yeah, 6
That would work.
me, but yes, I can do that.
Okay. And Mike, that's good for you? Dr. Crow?
I believe I'll be in Worcester at that meeting,
Oh,
so but I don't think you need me.
I thought that was on the 20th. Monday?
I have another one on the 20th.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll discuss it a little bit further at the end, but it looks like it may be next Tuesday, the 21st.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, do we have any unit leadership reports tonight? Mr. James?
Like the informal format here.
Yes.
Excellent.
Is not here tonight. So who? Mr. Thorne.
Good evening. The teachers are very happy to see that the new school committee has moved quickly to put into place a policy that will clearly provide procedures by which student activity funds will be handled. If such a policy were in place a year ago, a great deal of turmoil could have been avoided. We look forward to the training sessions in September that will provide our members with the tools that they need to run successful student activity programs for their students. Given that the school year is rapidly coming to a close for both the students and the teachers, I have several questions that need to be answered. First, when will the extra duty positions be posted for the high school, and when will the appointments be made? Some of these positions require advisors to organize before school closes this year.
Oh, I
That's a
didn't know.
question.
Oh, okay, I thought you were going to read all of them first.
Take them one at a time.
Okay, Dr. Crow, can you address that question?
The extra duties, as you know, Mrs. York has she's not officially starting, and we want to confer with her, and I did so today, and I believe that Ms. Farrow has a list of extra duty positions that will be posted.
Okay.
Versus
those
the ones that already were.
They could be posted right away. I mean, the appointment process could take some time, but people need to know when to apply and to apply.
Okay.
Secondly, when will teachers receive their appointments and class schedules for the ensuing school year? Again, this is needed for teachers to plan over the coming months.
Dr. Crow?
Again, as you know, Mr. James, will be impact bargaining over the schedule, and as soon as it's practical, you will receive that information, the teachers will receive their assignments.
Again, I asked for this meeting back in March, okay? And here we are, 4 days before the end of the school year, okay? And this kind of stuff is going to happen.
Can I address that?
Yes.
So just for the community's information, the way that the schedule has to be arranged for next year, to even find out about the alternative schedule, we had to receive all the input from all the students who wanted to select their courses. We waited for the high school to provide theirs, as well as the middle school, the incoming 8th graders, and we now have a shadow schedule, and I believe that Mr. James has a date for us to meet with Mr. St. Peter.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Again, that shadow schedule could have been made much earlier in the year to run.
It could not until we had the input about what students wanted to select.
When will the high school students receive their schedules for the next school year?
Again, that's related to the same, sorry, through the chair.
Last question. What should teachers at the high school do in regard to personal and school-based property to prepare for the construction at the high school?
Dr. Crowe?
As I said previously, earlier in the meeting, the schedules for the buildings and what parts of the buildings are going to be shut off. Mr. Suter is working with Mr. Karlstad in terms of what areas need what, at what time, and what needs to be cleared versus what will simply be cordoned off.
Okay, teachers are just concerned, especially the ones on the third floor, that have materials both of a personal nature and their educational materials up there. They want to know what to move, where to put things like this, how to secure those things. We certainly don't want a repeat of what happened when some rooms were flooded and both personal materials and a lot of educational materials were thrown out. It would be very helpful if the school district could communicate with those teachers to kind of tell them what's going to be going on, if they should be moving some of their materials, okay, so that they're not lost.
I would agree on that, I would expect that before school gets out on Monday, that I would hope that teachers are given direction as to what needs to be moved, where it can be moved to. So I will expect that will be answered by the last day of school.
Excellent, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Dr. Crowe wanted to add to that.
I would just strongly urge people to remove their personal belongings so there can be no question.
Okay.
I would strongly urge them to.
Can you get that out to
Do you
me?
agree, Mr. Suter?
Yeah, I guess we just assume that all personal belongings were removed from the school just in case something happens anyway over the summer.
Can you get a notice out there, Gary?
Excuse me?
For tomorrow?
What's that?
Notice out to the teachers for that?
Well, we're working on it with Mr. Karlstad. We're putting something together right now, but I mean, the personal items shouldn't be a question. They should be removed. Any educational items, the custodial staff will remove everything from the rooms, and the whole building will be off limits to anybody during the summer.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Could you please include this as part of the minutes and public record for this meeting?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any comment or concern?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Here.
I just have a question that was brought to me. It's kind of in regards to Mr. James' question about the construction. The basketball coach reached out to me as far as his camp, which is held July 5th through 8th, and he asked how that would be, how the construction will affect the camp, basically.
Mr. Suter or Dr. Crowe, do you?
Mr. Suter, Mr. Karlstad may have the answer to that as well.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with where the camp is held, whether it's inside or outside. If it's inside, it might be a problem. If it's outside, the only problem may be the storing of materials for the roof project and whatever they need for asbestos abatement. But the person to really ask the question to would be Mr. Karlstad.
Mr. Karlstad, would you like to answer that for us? Could you come up here so we could all? Thank you. This is Mr. Karlstad. He's our head of maintenance.
Yeah, the roof project and the asbestos projects are limited to the third floor of Building B. No other areas of the building will be impacted. That area of the building will be totally shut off, as well as the north staircase. All the debris will be coming down the north staircase and out the old doors to a dumpster. Any lay-down areas will be in the parking lot adjacent to Building B. There'll be some vehicle traffic, some workers, things like that. There'll be no other disruptions to the site. It's going to be a very tightly contained and a very tightly watched site, so there is no issue with any other part of the building. And I've already communicated that through channels for the basketball camp.
Okay. And would you be part of the notice out, because it sounds like you really have a good feel as to what areas will be impacted, so if you could work with Mr. Suter on getting a notice out?
Yeah, we just got the contracts in, so we're trying to look at dates, legal's looking at contracts, so we'll have something out tomorrow.
That would be great, thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions? Did that answer your question, Mr.?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other unit leaders here tonight? Okay, we have citizen input again. Is there anyone who would like to talk about Dr. Hicks?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ralph Hicks of the Spencer Board of Selectmen. I've heard discussion about schedule changes. School gets out in how many days, Madam Chairman?
The last day of school is Monday.
Yeah, kids usually go home with their schedules for the summer. Also, you have limited help in the guidance office during the summer, I believe. I don't believe you have a guidance clerk in there anymore, do you?
I don't believe so.
All right, well, good luck. However, that's only the beginning of my concern. My concern is that it sounds like you're thinking of getting rid of block scheduling. And this was talked about widely when I worked in this district. We had one particular school committee member who lives in this town who thought that would be a great idea. When I went up to Ashburnham and Westminster, we had people who thought about it too. I just want to leave you with this thought. A teacher teaching under block scheduling with the usual periods of about 83 to 90 minutes apiece can teach 6 full-time courses a year. A teacher with a 45-minute period, all right, 5 periods a day, can teach 5 full-time courses a year, which means, unless you're doing something different that's wildly innovative, and you may be, you're going to need more teachers than you have if you go back to the 45-minute period. And that's a grave concern of mine, given the economic problems this district has had for the past 5 years. And I don't see the town of Spencer, or for that matter, the town of East Brookfield, coming up with more money after the school year has started for that purpose. I don't know what reasoning there is behind it. That's your business. But I just want to make sure that you folks understand that if you get rid of block scheduling, you go back to 45-minute periods, that's 5 courses a year a teacher can teach instead of 6 courses a year. I think you're all intelligent enough to do the math, and I'll leave you with that. And I certainly hope the kids get their schedules before they go home next Monday, because if not, it's going to cause a lot of angst and anxiety with children and their parents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hicks. Are there any comments on Dr. Hicks's remarks? As you know, this is something that is going to be discussed through the collective bargaining process, but I appreciate you are bringing that to our attention, that the financial implications. So hopefully, I will not be part of those discussions at this point, but hopefully that will be one of the issues that they look at, is the financial implications. So again, thank you.
You're welcome. You will be voting on the final product, though.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chair. I'm going to get used to this.
Yeah, I know. Does anyone else in the audience have anything they would like to comment on tonight? Hi.
I just had a...
Could you give your name and address, please?
I can. Dawn Heidenfelter, 114 McCormick Road. I just had a quick question about the opioid crisis meeting that you'll be going to.
You speak right into your mic, please.
Not too quiet, sorry. That doesn't happen often. I had a question about, or I guess a request for the opioid crisis discussion that you're going to go to. In addition to training on kids avoiding drugs, I don't see a lot of support for the trauma that families experience when they have someone with addiction in the family. Could you, when you attend that, maybe bring up that concern for students who have this in their family? Is there an initiative for support for them? That's all.
Yes, she's going to respond.
I can let the community know that one of the things that came out of the Project Purple, the Chris Herron project that we attended in North Brookfield with North Brookfield and Bay Path, one of the things that came out of that project were the fact that we have community resources, but one of the concerns of treatment centers and not enough beds for treatment. And also, part of what we received that night were resources about family support, not just support for the addict, but also support for the addict's family.
Right.
So it's a good point, because it is a community issue, but it affects families dramatically.
Right, and a lot of times when you bring in trainings on avoiding the use of drugs, you're discussing it with kids who already have it in their lives, so it's just reminding them of what's going on.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that's a very good point, because I think any of us who have had addiction in the family knows that it is a family disease, so I think that would be a good question to ask. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone else in the audience?
Hi, Dean Fagowski, 50 Cherry Street. My question is the student activity fund policy, if approved by this board, will it be put on the website?
I believe that, yes, it will be. We want to get all of our policies on there. I don't know if the plan is to put them on when they're all complete, because that could be a long process, or do we plan, I think that's an important one that should be on there. But do we plan to put our policies on as they're approved, or?
I don't see why we can't. I think we should.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think that's a good idea. As we're reviewing things, I think that's a great way to show, oh, this is reviewed, this is reviewed. We can keep adding them to the website.
So I guess the answer would be yes, we'll start, so we already have some that are approved tonight. The student activity will have to be approved for a second, a second reading, but the others that we approved tonight will be on the website, and as soon as that one is approved, it will be there as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, on the next item, committee comments, future agenda topics. Does anyone on the committee have anything they'd like to say or be placed on the agenda for next time?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Monette?
I think one thing that we should maybe put on the agenda for the next meeting is the community use of facilities. I don't believe it's right that Little League could not use the high school parking lot, or a couple of years ago, they used Wire Village. They had to leave out of, I believe it was, the Spencer Country Inn. We have to get the community more involved, and by getting them more involved, they have to be able to use the facilities that they're paying their taxes on. So I think that's a huge topic that needs to be brought forth. And again, it goes back to even the opioid crisis. Open up these facilities for numerous camps and stuff, keep kids out of trouble. So I think that's a huge, huge agenda topic that really needs to be brought forth, and we can discuss and maybe even make a vote if we have to. I don't know the reasonings right now. I've heard a lot of different reasons, but to me, none of them make much sense, much common sense. So I think we definitely need to talk about that.
Okay, thank you. Actually, Jason and I met last night with the Spencer Selectmen, and this concern was brought to us by one of the members. His concern was the Little League not being able to start the parade in the parking lot of the high school. And Jason and I both did agree last night, and actually I have had discussions with Dr. Crow about this, and I think she's in agreement with us that there really is no reason why the Little League parade cannot start at the high school. There are other things maybe that we have to look at more closely that may be a liability, but that has been done for years. I've never heard of a problem, and I can't foresee there being any problems. So I don't know if we need to vote on that, or if it can just be, as Jason said, common sense, that the Little League can start the parade in the high school parking lot. Dr. Crow?
Yeah, can I bring? Just today, I spoke with someone who, the guidelines that the committee put into place, actually on the building use, when an outside organization is using the building, for example, there's a liability policy that has to be in place. I think it's another thing we have to look at, because what I'm hearing from a number of people is that they have a $2 million policy, but our guidelines is now saying $3 million. So if that's, the difference between 2 million, 3 million, I realize people sue. I get that part, but I think we need to look at that because I'm not sure that we should.
I believe if they have a $2
Eliminate.
million insurance policy, that's more than enough.
But it's
I understand what you're saying.
one of the issues right now.
I understand what you're saying, but I think we need to clear that up because it's...
Or if it's a matter of getting the policy increased to 3 million, I can't imagine that would be,
Well, decreased. We can decrease it to 2 million. Because if everybody's,
oh, okay.
Guidelines.
Oh, our guidelines? Oh, okay.
If everybody's insurance is 2 million, why, we should just move ours to 2 million, the guidelines. To me, it just, I don't understand it. That's how you put up a wall to the community. We want to break down the wall
Yeah.
and allow them.
Right, and these are the kind of things that do make a difference, and they should be pretty easy fixes, so. Yes.
Chairperson, can I make a comment since I'm an insurance agent and I do insurance and I see claims? I agree, we need to make our facilities available, but I think we should talk about this some more, and I hope we put it on the agenda.
It will be.
But I also hesitate to change a policy of 3 million to 2 million when literally the cost for them to increase it is like less than $100 usually. Whereas the cost to the district, if we have some small child that's seriously injured, sadly, injured is worse than killed, for the rest of their life, has a debilitating disability, that would bankrupt not just the school district, but the town. And so we need to be good fiscally responsible for the people that entrust us into this position. I just think we need to talk about it some more.
I agree.
And it's not a huge cost for them to increase their coverage, because it's not a matter of, it's not offered. It's $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, you can get $100 million of liability coverage, so it's not.
No, I agree, and whether it be that we increase our insurance or we decrease what the policy says, and maybe you're right, maybe we would be better to pay a little bit extra to increase it, to cover any, God forbid that we ever did have a huge...
No, sorry, clarification, it's the outside organization that needs to increase their liability policy.
Okay.
It's not our insurance.
Okay.
When an outside agency...
Oh, so you're talking about the Little
Right.
League, okay.
No, just not necessarily, but an outside organization,
So when we have anyone requesting the use, we have to find out
if they have, right.
what, okay.
And what do they have to have?
Right now, it's the 3 million binder.
Well, I just think that's ridiculous. But that's just my personal opinion. I think 3 million's a little crazy.
Well,
Those are the guidelines set up by the...
No, I understand that. But all of a sudden Little League has to get a $3 million insurance policy. It costs them more money for the $3 million, whether it's $100 or not. Money's money, and every penny counts. And then on top of that, if you have Byron Dean's running camp up at the high school, where he's getting whacked with the insurance, and then he's getting whacked with the user fees. Why the fees? I mean, you put all this on top of each other, it almost to the point where people don't want to use the facilities anymore because it's costing them too much. So we got to really think about that, and I agree with Angela, we have to have a discussion on it. It's got to be talked about. We can't make any rash decisions, but it's something that has to be brought forth, is my point, I guess.
Well, we will have that as an agenda topic next meeting, not if we have a special meeting, but the July meeting. Because, I think all of us do agree that what we want to do is move forward in a positive way. We have to do everything we can to provide facilities to our children, and we need to do what we need to do to make that happen. So we will discuss this next month. Heather?
I'm just requesting that copies of the facility use policy be placed in every member's packet for the next meeting, so members have a chance to review it. That was a source of great debate for a long time when we decided on that policy.
Right.
And there wasn't too much of a change, if I remember, cost-wise, in the use of facilities for...
Heather, it's online.
It's online already? Okay. And I'd also, for the liability, for the insurance policy cost, I'd like to maybe look into other districts and see what their max is, just to see if we're in line with other local districts.
Could we get that information by next month if we took a look at some of the neighboring communities to see what they have?
I would think that's something for the policy subcommittee. It's a guideline policy.
Okay, well, that's going to be one of my topics, is the subcommittees that we have in place and when they're planning on meeting, so we'll talk about that then. All right, so we will have that on next month's agenda. Is there anyone else who would like to have anything on the agenda for next month?
Martha, I don't have something for our agenda, but I just wanted you guys, everyone to know, I had a technology committee meeting earlier today, and we did finally approve what we are going to recommend for the, we're calling it the responsible use policy. So that will be sent to Dr. Crow and to Jim St. Peter, so that they can, the policy subcommittee can review it and then forward it on to us. And hopefully that will be in place by the end of the summer as well.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I had was to ask the other subcommittees that have been formed, if you have any plan to meet, the maintenance capital, we need to have chairs appointed to those committees, and hopefully you can get, what other ones do we have outstanding that haven't met yet?
The superintendent evaluations?
Yes.
But I know we're having a training on the 16th, I believe, so I think it would be, I don't know what your opinions are, Dr. Crow, if we should just wait till we have that training before we begin it, or if you...
Okay. And hopefully the maintenance subcommittee will get together soon and appoint a chair as well. Otherwise, is there any other items that we would like to bring to the committee tonight?
When do you go?
I just have a comment. I just want to recognize Mrs. Stanlin and all the teachers at Wire Village. I attended the spring concert last week at Wire Village, and it was wonderful. I give everybody credit, especially Mrs. Slack, the music teacher, who must have the patience of a saint for working with all those students and getting everybody organized. It was adorable. It was wonderful.
Thank you. And I had the chance to go to the East Brookfield Festival, the spring concert, which also was wonderful. Just watching those kids is kind of what it's all about. So we thank all of our teachers and staff for all of the extras that they do for us. Otherwise, if there's no other items, do we have a motion to adjourn? We do not need an executive session tonight.
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Aye.